Hey, this is Chris, jamplay.com, and we are here with an Eve 6 lesson, a song by the name of At Least We're Dreaming. And this song's got a lot of parts to it, a lot of effects. We're going to be learning the rhythms, the leads. There's a small acoustic guitar part, and we're going to be looking at how all these parts blend together to create the monstrous sound that Eve 6 is known for. So let's dive into this. We're going to be taking it section by section. There are multiple guitar parts on each verse or each chorus. We're going to do our best today to combine some of those so that as you're jamming around, you can play the song in its entirety pretty easily. Also, as we're going through these parts, make sure you're following along with the supplemental content and looking at the types of backing tracks that are available. There are tons of different variations on the backing track, and we're going to be playing along with those in the lesson to demonstrate how these parts lay over the backing track. But as you're practicing some of these lines, playing them over the backing track is really going to help you with your timing. It's really going to help you with just overall feeling like you're playing with someone. And that's a totally different feeling than when you're just playing by yourself. This song is a great song for those of you who are beginners and who have just gotten into starting to play chords and a little bit of leads. So don't feel afraid of this song if you're just starting out. This is a very simple song to play. It's basically only 3 chords and a few lead lines that are fairly simple to play. So without more talking, let's get into this. We're at the intro, and this is a very simple lead line based off of the high E string, and it incorporates a fair amount of movement up and down the fretboard with your fingers. I'm going to demonstrate this slower. Pay careful attention to what I'm doing both with my right and my left hand, and I'll explain that a little bit as we go along here. And it's basically a loop as we go through. So I'm going to be starting here on my 2nd fret, and basically the rule of thumb with this lick is I'm going to pick a note and then I'm going to pull off to my high E string, just open. And then I'm going to pick my B string. Then I'm going to move up to my 4th fret on my E string. Okay? And then I'm going to pull off again to my E string. Okay? Then after that, I'm going to come all the way up here to my 7th fret on my E string and do the same thing. Then the very last time we play this through, we're just going to hold on the B string, on this B note on the high E string, and then slide out. Okay, so a couple things to watch for when you're playing this up to tempo. You need to use alternate picking on your right hand in order to make this work. Watch the picking pattern carefully. I'm using true alternate picking where I'm going down, up, down, up, down, up. So if I were to try to play that all downstrokes, I suppose you can, and you can probably get it up to speed using that technique, but if you're able to do it with alternate picking, it'll be a little smoother and it will be a little easier to work it up to faster tempos if you ever want to incorporate a line similar to that into your own music. Refer to the tablature for specific timing and fret positions, of course. Now, this intro sounds a little bit unique because they're using a very subtle flanging effect. And I happen to have an MXR flanger with me today. We're going to go over a little bit of what this effect does, and then, of course, how they're applying it. So let's look at that pedal now. You can hear it's a very subtle warble. When I turn the effect off, of course that goes away. This flanger has 4 knobs. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to play. I'm going to adjust the width. Now what you're hearing is that warble gets deeper. The detuning gets much deeper. Okay, now if I adjust the speed, it's going to get a lot faster. So you can get some pretty crazy things with this. That almost sounds like a rotary speaker effect, which of course is not what they're using. Now the regen is going to act like sort of a delay on the signal. It's going to delay that pitch modulated signal. It's going to sound very strange. For this song, however, we're using a flanger, but we're going to be very, very, very subtle with it. Turning the effects almost all the way down, just enough to get that kind of dual nature sound going. Okay, so really any flanger will work if you have a multi-effects processor or if you have a pedal like this MXR. It'll be fine. Just make sure that you have most of the knobs down, that you've got a slow speed, a slow regeneration or feedback delay setting, and that the width is turned down also. So there's the intro. Let's move on to the first part of the first verse.
When do we get to the part where I can go home? Been hiding inside the jungle gym for way too long, waiting for someone to come along and find me. Live in an apartment that bums me out. It don't get better when the lights...
First verse riff. Now, on the original recording, and if you listen to the backing track, the full version of the track that's provided, you notice that this is actually 2 guitars. When they went to record it, they had one guy doing this, and the other guy doing this. Or at least they were 2 different tracks, and you can tell that if you listen in headphones. But for the sake of finger dexterity and fun, we are going to combine them both together. So what this is going to require is that we're using quite a bit of palm muting, and that we're using some alternate picking, and that we're not letting strings ring out too much. And you know, I have a tendency to let that happen sometimes, and you probably will too as you're learning this, but here we go. So it starts open string E, hit twice, and then you're going to skip some strings and come all the way up to your G string. And you're going to go up on the 9th fret, 9, 8, 9. So, and the whole time you're palm muting just a little bit. So I have this part of my hand right here on the, not right on the bridge, but on the strings directly in front of the bridge. So I get this muted sound. So 0, 0, 9, 8, 9. Then you're going to go to the 0 fret or open string on your A twice and do, these are the same frets, but you're going to do a quick little double pick while you're palm muting. So it's going to sound like this. Okay? Now, in the original recording, it's very difficult to tell when exactly they're doing the double pick, when exactly they're doing the single pick. I wouldn't worry about too much if you're getting it exactly like the recording, although the tablature is provided so that you can get it exact. But really what you want to do is make sure you're getting that technique down. It's a good alternate picking exercise. Okay, so that's the first part. Then at each turnaround, so when the verse starts over again, because really there's 2 repetitions of the verse when it first starts. We're going to have this little walk down that happens at the end. And that is 9, 8 on your G string, and then 11 on your D string. And that's going to sound like this. Okay, I'm going to play that again for you. Okay, pretty simple, but it's a good exercise in string skipping, palm muting, and alternate picking. So that is the first part of the verse, and again, that's 2 parts combined. So if you need to, start practicing with just the lower strings and getting that palm muting down. And then practice the high stuff. Okay? And just like you saw me doing at the very beginning of this section, work it with the backing track so that you're making sure you're playing it in time, you make sure you're playing the right notes, and refer to the tablature and follow along with that as you're learning this. So let's go on to the second part of the verse, where we're going to introduce a bit of a phaser technique. So we've skipped ahead just a little bit. I wanted to get this simple effects-based part out of the way. Now, this is in the second part of the verse. Swimming through the aisles at the grocery store is the lyric that's happening. And this introduces a simple phase technique, and all you're doing is hitting the open string and letting it ring. And you're letting whole notes go, and you're letting the phaser carry that rhythm a little bit. The phaser isn't necessarily in time with the song. It gives you that nice oscillation, almost a wah sound really, but it's giving you something that is just a different flavor, something kind of cool in the middle. So this is an MXR phaser, and it's very simple. This, I believe, is the very same pedal that they actually used on the recording, and it's just got a speed knob. Now, if I turn it down, obviously the speed is slower, and you can get pretty ridiculous with it also. That's basically all it is. Now, because it doesn't have a mix knob on it, you can't control how much of the effect you're using. So when you're playing with it, you have to use it as kind of a subtle additive as opposed to maybe the main part. Of course, there are exceptions to everything, but that's how it's used here. It's just a subtle additive. And really, there isn't much to learn here except that they're putting in these one-note lines to spice up the song. And that should be something that you can take away in your own songwriting, that you add a simple one-note line in underneath a catchy melody, underneath a good chord progression, and it adds something kind of cool that wouldn't otherwise be there. So let's move on to the other aspects of the verse. This guitar part enters right as he's saying, live in an apartment that bums me out. And this is a little bit, you're still walking between chords E and A, which we haven't really covered those yet, but that's okay. You're going to learn a different version of these chords. So the cool thing about this E is that you're not going to play the low E. You're going to start with this B note. So I'm going to bar on my second fret, and then I'm going to take my pinky and I'm going to put it on the G string, 4th fret. So I'm accentuating this B note, which is the 5th of the E chord. And then I've got the E here, So it's an E5 chord, but the B is in the bass. Sounds a lot different than that. Okay, so there's the first chord. Then the second chord is an A chord, but instead of just doing this, an A chord like this, I'm going to come out here with my pinky and put that on the 5th fret B string, and I'm not going to play the low string, the A string either. So same voicing as the other one. So that is going to go like this. Make sure that when you're switching back and forth that you're killing the sound so that you don't get this. You want to kill the sound with your palm. This is different than palm muting. You want to bring your palm up a little bit so that you're entirely deadening the chord. Okay? This is another example of a little tiny part in the middle of the song that adds some extra oomph when the drums come in, and another thing that you can apply to your own writing or your own arranging. Next, we're going to look at a short lead lick that's kind of a hook that they put throughout the verses and a little bit in the choruses. They borrow from it a little. So we're going to look at this lead line next.
Come along and find me. Swimming through the
This is the first little aspect of lead guitar in here, and it incorporates a unison bend on the 12th fret and the 15th fret. So my first finger is going to reside on the 12th fret, high E string, and then I'm going to take my third finger and my second finger, place them on the 15th and 14th frets of the B string, and then I'm going to pick. And right after I pick, I'm going to take these two fingers and bend the B string up to the pitch of the E string. I'm going to do it quickly. And then I'm going to mute it by taking my hand off and then using the same technique we covered in the last section, where I'm kind of hitting the string with my right hand. There's the first part. Next, we're going to put our first finger on the 12th fret, and we're going to cover both the B and the E strings. Take our third finger, 15th fret, B string, and walk down to the 14th fret and then to the 12th fret. So that's going to look like this. 15, 14, 12. That's going to come after the unison bend. All right? Now, this is one of those ones that you can learn without any click or anything, but I strongly recommend either playing it to a click or playing it to the backing track so that you get the phrasing. To work on your unison bends, here's a little exercise I recommend, because sometimes if you haven't done a technique that's in a lick, it can be awfully hard to learn the lick. So there are two very common ways that you can utilize unison bends, and one of them is between the E string and the B string. No matter where you play this, you're always going to be separating. You're going to be in a 4-fret grouping, so that your first finger is going to be really 3 frets down from your third finger. And what I recommend is just taking this around the neck and getting comfortable with it. Start here, since maybe you're sort of used to that with this lick, and then go down a fret. And really work on that. Now, I recommend going this way, down the neck to the lower end, as opposed to working up the neck, because these are actually easier up here. Once you get down here, it requires a little bit more effort to make that happen. So practice going this way, and then practice going back up. You can do it with this grouping. If you want to do unison bends on a different set of strings, another one that's really common is you're gonna be on your G string with your first finger, and then instead of 3 frets up with your third finger, you're going to only be 2 frets up. Oops. So, sorry, first finger is going to be on B string, and then your third finger is going to be on the G string, 2 frets up. both of these types of bends and these formations and positions are in this song. So if you start here and practice with getting these things relatively in tune, that's going to go a long way to helping you with some of the other lead aspects of this song. So back to the lick, play it a couple more times for you, and then we shall move on.